The quantum entanglement array at Luna Base Station hummed with an unusual frequency. Dr. Maya Rodriguez adjusted her neural interface, frowning at the anomalous readings flooding her holographic display. After 15 years of monitoring deep space communications, she had never seen anything like this pattern. Command: "This is Luna Base. We're picking up something different," she reported, her fingers dancing through the air as she manipulated the data streams. "The signal's using quantum harmonics we've never encountered before." Admiral James Chen leaned forward in his chair at Earth Defense Command, thousands of kilometers below. "Different how, Doctor?" "It's elegant. Far more sophisticated than anything we've seen from known spacefaring species. But there's something else. The signature suggests extreme power consumption. Whatever sent this burned through massive amounts of energy to reach us." The quantum entanglement network had been humanity's crowning achievement in deep space communications. While other species relied on conventional transmissions that took years to cross the vast distances between stars, humanity had cracked the code of instant communication across light years. It had been their key advantage in establishing themselves as a rising power in the galaxy. "Can you decode it?" Chen asked, his weathered face betraying concern even through the holographic projection. Maya's hands moved faster through the interface. "Working on it now. The encryption is—" "Wait." She paused, eyes widening. "Sir, this isn't just a message, it's a warning." The decoded signal resolved into a series of images and data streams that made Maya's blood run cold. They showed a massive object, if it could even be called that, moving through space like a living shadow. Wherever it passed, stars dimmed and planets went dark. It consumed energy on an astronomical scale, leaving dead worlds in its wake. "The Arcturus Collective sent this," Maya explained, referring to one of the most advanced civilizations known to humanity. "They say this entity has already consumed 3 of their core systems. Their quantum barriers, their stellar manipulation technology, nothing could stop it. They're asking for help." Admiral Chen's expression hardened. "The Arcturians asking us for help. They've spent centuries treating humans like primitive savages. Sir, according to these readings, this thing will reach their capital world in less than 2 weeks. If it's not stopped there." Maya let the implications hang in the air. The Arcturus Collective's territory formed a buffer between Earth and the galactic core. If they fell, Earth would be next. Chen was silent for a long moment, studying the data with eyes that had seen countless battles. "How many ships do they have left?" "Their fleet is down to 30% strength. But sir, that's not why they contacted us specifically." Maya highlighted a section of the transmission. "Their analysis suggests this entity is vulnerable to graviton weaponry. We're the only species that successfully weaponize gravitational fields." It was true. Humanity's experiments with gravity manipulation had been born of necessity. Earth's powerful gravity had forced them to innovate just to reach space, while other species focused on energy weapons and faster-than-light drives. Humans had pursued the fundamental force that had challenged them from the beginning. "Assemble the War Council," Chen ordered after another moment of contemplation. "And Maya, prepare a detailed briefing on everything we know about this entity. If we're going to commit Earth's forces to this fight, we need to understand exactly what we're dealing with." As Maya began compiling the data, she couldn't help but appreciate the irony. Humanity's greatest challenge, their homeworld's crushing gravity, had forged them into exactly the allies the galaxy's most advanced civilization needed in their darkest hour. The quantum array continued its soft humming, carrying the weight of a civilization's desperate plea across the stars. And in orbit above humanity's gravity well of a homeworld, the most advanced warships ever created by human hands waited for the order that would send them into battle against a horror that consumed stars. The War Council would meet in 6 hours. The fate of multiple civilizations would hinge on their decision. And Dr. Maya Rodriguez had that long to convince them that humanity's hard-won mastery over gravity might be the galaxy's last hope against the darkness between the stars. The War Council chamber aboard the EDS Hyperion hummed with tension as Admiral Chen presented the holographic data. 20 of Earth's highest-ranking military commanders watched in silence as the simulation showed the entity's path of destruction through Arcturus space. Our graviton lance technology is untested at this scale, General Sarah Hassan argued, her augmented eyes tanning the tactical readouts. We've never attempted to project a gravitational field strong enough to affect something of this magnitude. The Arcturian's analysis is sound, Maya countered, highlighting specific data points in the projection. The entity's energy absorption field shows distinct vulnerabilities to gravitational distortions. Their own gravity manipulation attempts, while primitive compared to ours, caused measurable damage. The entity's projected course floated above the council table, a path of darkness cutting through the stellar map like a wound. 6 Arcturus systems had already gone dark, their stars dim to barely visible points of light. The simulation showed another 12 systems in immediate danger if the entity maintained its current trajectory. What about the civilian populations? Admiral Patel asked, his voice carrying the weight of previous evacuation efforts. The Arcturus capital system alone has billions of inhabitants. The Arcturians have already begun evacuations, Chen replied, but their FTL capabilities are limited. They estimate they can only move 20% of their population before the entity arrives. That's why time is critical. Maya brought up new data streams, showing the specifications of Earth's graviton lance-equipped vessels. The technology had been developed to create corridors of manipulated spacetime, allowing ships to navigate Earth's gravity well more efficiently. Weaponizing it had been a natural evolution, though they'd never deployed it at anything approaching this scale. The Third Fleet is our best option, Chen continued. 12 ships equipped with Mark VI graviton lances, plus support vessels. We can reach the Arcturus capital in 4 days at maximum FTL. And if we fail? Hassan's question hung in the air. If we can't stop this thing, we'll have committed a significant portion of Earth's defensive capability to a lost cause. Chen's response was interrupted by a priority alert. Maya's hands flew through the holographic interface, pulling up new data from the quantum network. Her face paled. The entity has accelerated, she announced, updating the simulation. It's already reached the Arcturus system of Helios Prime. 3 billion inhabitants, all gone. Their sun is dark. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The entity was moving faster than predicted, consuming entire star systems in hours rather than days. The timeline they'd been working with had just been cut in half. We don't have time for debate, Chen declared, his voice carrying the authority of decades of command. Every moment we hesitate, another system dies. Humanity developed graviton technology because we refused to let our planet's gravity keep us bound to the surface. Now we have a chance to prove that same determination can save not just one civilization, but potentially every spacefaring race in the galaxy. The council members exchanged glances. They all knew the risks. Earth would be vulnerable with a third of its graviton-equipped ships deployed. If the mission failed, they might have doomed 2 civilizations instead of 1. The Arcturians looked down on us for centuries, Chen continued. Called us primitive because we focused on gravity manipulation instead of their superior energy-based technology. But now they're facing something their technology can't defeat, and they turn to us. This is humanity's moment to prove what we're truly capable of. One by one, the council members nodded their agreement. The vote was unanimous. Third Fleet will deploy immediately, Chen ordered. Dr. Rodriguez, you'll accompany us as our graviton technology expert. We'll need your insights to maximize the effectiveness of our weapons against this entity. As the council chamber emptied, Maya stared at the simulation still floating above the table. The entity's form seemed to shift and writhe even in the holographic projection, a mass of darkness that devoured light itself. Humanity had overcome the challenge of their homeworld's gravity through sheer determination and ingenuity. Now they would have to prove that same iron will could stand against a force that extinguished stars. The fate of two civilizations now rested on humanity's mastery of the very force that had once kept them bound to Earth, and they had less than 2 days to prepare for the greatest test their technology and their courage had ever faced. The EDS Hyperion dropped out of FTL on the edge of the Arcturus capital system, accompanied by 11 other graviton-lance-equipped warships. The scene that greeted them defied description. The entity filled half the view screen, a vast, churning mass of darkness that seemed to bend light around it. Already it had begun to drain the system's sun, tendrils of void reaching out to pull away its energy. Multiple Arcturus vessels detected, the sensor officer reported. Their fleet is engaged with the entity, but their weapons are having minimal effect. Maya studied the readings from her station, watching as the Arcturians' energy weapons dissipated harmlessly against the entity's surface. Their weapons are being absorbed just like the stellar energy. But look here, she highlighted a section of the data. When their ships generate gravity wells for FTL jumps, it disrupts the entity's energy absorption field. Third Fleet, Battle Formation Delta, Chen ordered. Prepare graviton lances for maximum yield. The human ships moved into position, their formation designed to create overlapping fields of gravitational distortion. The first salvo from the graviton lances struck the entity like hammer blows against darkness. Space itself warped and buckled as concentrated gravitational forces tore at the creature's form. For the first time, they heard it scream, a sound that transmitted through space itself, bypassing the normal laws of physics. Direct hits, Maya called out. The entity's energy absorption rate is dropping by 30%. But their victory was short-lived. The entity responded, its form shifting and adapting. Tendrils of pure darkness lashed out, wrapping around 2 human ships. Where they touched, metal crumpled under impossible gravitational pressures. It's learning, Maya realized, horror dawning in her voice. It's analyzing our graviton technology and turning it against us. All ships, evasive maneuvers, Chen ordered. Adjust graviton lance frequencies and prepare for another volley. The battle that followed was unlike anything in human military history. The entity proved capable of mimicking their gravitational attacks, creating zones of crushing force that threatened to tear the fleet apart. But human crews adapted quickly, changing tactics and frequencies faster than the entity could copy them. Sir, Maya called out suddenly. I'm detecting something unusual in the entity's response patterns. When we hit it with rapidly alternating gravitational frequencies, it takes longer to adapt. Almost as if. As if what, Doctor? As if it can only process one gravitational frequency at a time. It's not truly learning. It's copying. And there might be a way to use that against it. Maya's fingers flew across her console as she explained her theory. If we can hit it with multiple gravitational frequencies simultaneously, we might be able to overwhelm its ability to adapt. But we'd need to modify our graviton lances to generate interfering waves. How long to make the modifications? Chen asked. 20 minutes per ship. But sir, there's a catch. The power requirements would be enormous. We'd be pushing our reactors beyond safe limits. Chen didn't hesitate. Do it. This might be our only chance. As engineering teams raced to modify the graviton lances, the entity continued its assault. 3 human ships were lost, their crews barely managing to evacuate before their vessels were crushed into twisted masses of metal. The Arcturus fleet provided what cover they could, but their weapons remained ineffective. Finally, Maya signaled completion of the modifications. The remaining human ships moved into a new formation, their graviton lances humming with power far beyond their design tolerances. All ships, fire on my mark, Chen ordered. Dr. Rodriguez, initiate the frequency interference pattern. Maya took a deep breath, her hand hovering over the command interface. Everything hinged on her theory being correct. If she was wrong, they might lose their only weapon against the entity. Fire. 9 graviton lances activated simultaneously, each generating a different gravitational frequency. The overlapping waves created patterns of interference that rippled through space-time itself. Where they struck the entity, its darkness began to fragment and tear. This time, its scream shook the entire system. The entity's form writhed and convulsed, unable to adapt to the multiple frequencies tearing at its structure. For the first time, they saw genuine damage being inflicted on the cosmic horror. But the human ships were paying their terrible price. Warning alarms blared throughout the fleet as reactors approached critical levels. They would only get one chance at this. Maya watched the readings spike, hoping their determination would be enough to save not just the Arcturus civilization, but countless others that might have fallen prey to this entity. The battle's outcome would prove whether humanity's greatest challenge, their homeworld's gravity, had truly forged them into something extraordinary. The interfering gravitational waves tore through the entity's form, creating cascading ruptures in its energy absorption field. On the Hyperion's bridge, Maya watched the sensor readings with a mixture of hope and dread. The human fleet's reactors were redlining, pushed far beyond their safety limits by the modified graviton lances. Hull integrity failing on ships 3 and 7, the tactical officer reported. Their graviton lance containment fields are becoming unstable. Keep firing, Chen ordered. We hold the line here. The entity's massive form contracted, its darkness condensing as it tried to resist the multiple gravitational frequencies assaulting it. But for the first time since it had begun its campaign of destruction, it was showing signs of vulnerability. Fissures of light appeared within its core, bleeding energy back into space. Sir, Maya called out, I'm detecting a change in the entity's structure. The overlapping gravity waves are forcing it to maintain multiple forms simultaneously. It can't adapt fast enough. The entity's counterattack was devastating. It lashed out with copied gravitational forces, crushing 2 more human ships into twisted wreckage. But even as they lost ships, the remaining vessels adjusted their positions, maintaining the crucial interference pattern. Reactor breach imminent on the Hyperion, engineering reported. 5 minutes until critical failure. Chen's voice remained steady. All ships, divert all remaining power to your graviton lances. Final volley on my mark. Maya's calculations flashed across her screen. Sir, if we push the reactors that hard, we won't be able to contain the gravitational backwash. The ships won't survive. But will it kill the entity? Maya studied the readings, her mind racing through the physics. Yes, the gravitational shear would tear it apart at the quantum level. It wouldn't be able to reconstitute itself. Chen opened a channel to the remaining ships. All crews, prepare for emergency evacuation on my signal. Set your ships for automated final approach. He turned to Maya. Can you program the final attack vector? Already done, sir. Maya's hands trembled slightly as she input the commands. The ships will continue firing until their reactors breach. The combined gravitational explosion should be enough to finish it. The evacuation order went out. Across the fleet, crews raced to their escape pods as their ships moved into final attack position. The entity seemed to sense their intention, its attacks becoming more frenzied, but it was too late. The interference pattern had weakened it too severely for it to break free. All hands, abandon ship, Chen ordered. That includes you, Dr. Rodriguez. Maya hesitated at her station. Sir, the targeting calculations will need to be adjusted until the final moment. Someone has to stay. That's an order, Doctor. Your work here has given us a chance. Now go. The bridge crew evacuated as the ship's superstructure groaned under the gravitational stresses. Maya took one last look at her console before racing for the escape pods. Behind her, Chen remained at his post, manually adjusting the fleet's final approach. From the relative safety of their escape pods, the human crews watched as their ships, now little more than guided missiles, converged on the entity. The graviton lances blazed with uncontrolled power, their containment fields failing as the reactors reached critical mass. The entity's form writhed and twisted, trying desperately to break free of the gravitational web that held it. But the human ships, even in their death throes, maintained their attack pattern with precision born of determination and sacrifice. The final explosion was like nothing any human had ever witnessed. As the reactors breached, the overlapping gravitational fields collapsed in on themselves, creating a cascade of space-time distortions that ripped the entity apart at its most fundamental level. Its scream echoed one last time through the system before being swallowed by the silence of space. When the gravitational aftershocks subsided, there was nothing left of either the entity or the human fleet. Only scattered debris and rescue pods remained, floating in the space where moments before a cosmic horror had threatened to consume all life in its path. The Arcturus ships moved quickly to recover the human survivors, their earlier disdain for humanity replaced by a profound respect. They had witnessed something extraordinary. A species willing to sacrifice everything to save not just themselves, but a civilization that had long looked down on them. As Maya's rescue pod was brought aboard an Arcturus vessel, she looked out at the now peaceful star system. The entity was gone, destroyed by the very force that had once kept humanity bound to their homeworld. They had turned their greatest challenge into their greatest strength, and in doing so, had changed the galaxy's understanding of what humans were truly capable of. 3 months after the battle in the Arcturus system, Maya stood before the Galactic Council. Representatives from every spacefaring civilization had gathered to hear humanity's account of the entity's defeat. The chamber's architecture reflected the Arcturians' traditional elegance, but now their banners hung alongside Earth's flag, a symbol of their newfound alliance. The entity's destruction came at a grave cost. Maya explained, manipulating the holographic display to show the final moments of the battle. We lost 9 ships and 300 crew members. But their sacrifice prevented the entity from consuming countless more systems. The council chamber remained silent as the recording showed the final gravitational cascade that had destroyed the cosmic horror. The Arcturian High Commissioner stepped forward, his crystalline form catching the light. For centuries, we dismissed humanity's focus on gravitational technology as primitive, he announced. We were wrong. Your species turned what we saw as a limitation into the very thing that saved our civilization. The data from the battle had transformed the scientific community's understanding of gravitational physics. Maya's team had already begun working with Arcturian scientists to develop new applications for the interference pattern technology, creating defensive systems that could prevent similar threats in the future. Humanity's achievement goes beyond the destruction of the entity, the High Commissioner continued. You've shown us that true advancement comes not from dismissing different approaches, but from embracing them. The Arcturus Collective formally requests a permanent technological exchange program with Earth. Other council members quickly followed suit. Species that had once viewed humans as barely worthy of notice now sought their expertise in gravitational engineering. Earth's status in the galactic community had been transformed overnight. Maya's thoughts drifted to Admiral Chen and the crews who had sacrificed themselves. Their deaths had not only saved countless lives, but had also forced the galaxy's most advanced civilizations to reevaluate their understanding of progress itself. As she left the council chamber, Maya passed a newly installed memorial. It displayed the names of the human crews who had died fighting the entity, their sacrifice honored in every known written language. Beneath the names, a simple phrase was inscribed. They turned their greatest challenge into their greatest strength, and in doing so, showed us all a better path forward. The quantum entanglement network that had carried the Arcturians' desperate plea now hummed with constant communication between Earth and its new allies. Humanity had proven that they were not just survivors of a high-gravity world, but pioneers who could reshape the very forces that had once confined them. In the end, it hadn't been advanced energy weapons or sophisticated shields that had saved the galaxy from cosmic horror. It had been humanity's iron will, forged in the crushing gravity of Earth, that had made the difference. They had shown the galaxy that true strength comes not from overcoming limitations, but from transforming them into advantages. The age of isolation was over. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not through dominance, but through sacrifice and innovation. And as Maya watched ships from a dozen different species dock at Earth's orbital stations, she knew that the galaxy would never be the same.